Hi everyone and welcome to A-Level Revision with MFS. In this video we look at monomers and polymers. We focus on a range of exam questions and how to gain full marks on each one. Please ensure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to ensure you never miss a video from A-Level Revision with MFS. Okay, so if we make a start on this first question, it says describe the chemical reactions involved in the conversion of polymers to monomers and monomers to polymers. Give two named examples of polymers and their associated monomers to illustrate your answers. So the key thing over here is that we are talking about polymers. Many people get confused with dimers. We're not talking about dimers, we're talking about polymers such as starch, glycogen and cellulose. So it says, describe the chemical reactions involved in the conversion of polymers to monomers and monomers to polymers. So when we're going from monomers to polymers, what's actually happening? Well, we have our reactants and we're producing our polymers. And that happens via a condensation reaction. Okay, so what is actually happening is a condensation reaction. A condensation reaction occurs, and when a condensation reaction occurs, a chemical bond is formed between the monomers. So a chemical bond is formed. And what else is released in the process? Well, as our products, we also release a molecule of water. So a molecule of water is released. And to get 1 mark in this question, you will need condensation reaction and a chemical bond is formed and a molecule of water is released. Okay, and that's when we're going from monomers to polymers. Now, what's an example of that reaction? So monomers and polymers. So we've seen that examples of polymers include starch, cellulose and glycogen. If we look at starch, that's formed of two molecules of alpha glucose. Okay, so we've got 2 alpha glucose, which is used to form the polymer of starch. Okay, and we've given an example there, so that would be worth a mark as well. Okay, now when we're going the other way around, polymers to monomers, what's happening here? So when we're going from monomers to polymers, we're using a condensation reaction. So the other side of the reaction will be a hydrolysis reaction. Okay, so we're gonna use a hydrolysis reaction. And what is a hydrolysis reaction going to do? Well, it's going to use that molecule of water and it's going to break the chemical bond to form our monomers. Okay, so what's going to happen essentially is that the molecule of water is used, the chemical bond is broken and monomers are formed. Okay, so again you need both bits of information there. And an example, we've got cellulose, which is our polymer. It will undergo a hydrolysis reaction and it will form our monomers of beta glucose. Okay, now over here we need to mention the type of bond. Okay, so over here we're talking about carbohydrates, so it's going to be a glycosidic bond. Okay, so it's going to be a glycosidic bond. Okay, so if you have a look at the mock scheme over here, it says first thing over here, it says ignore reference to dimers. Okay, so we're not meant to talk about dimers. The first mark comes from saying a condensation reaction joins monomers together, which we've said, and that's the thing you need to have, and forms a chemical bond and releases water in the process. So as you can see, we've said that over here, and that would be worth 1 mark. Now the second mark is the hydrolysis reaction, breaking the chemical bond which they are made from, which we've also said, and it's using water, which we've said over here, a molecule of water is used. That would get you the second mark. Now the third and fourth mark would be for your 2 named examples of polymers. So again over here there's a lot you can have. So you can have beta glucose and cellulose, which we mentioned, and alpha glucose and starch or glycogen, which we've mentioned there. Okay, and the fifth mark comes from the reference to the correct bond, and we've mentioned the glycosidic bond. Okay, so over here this answer would get you your 5 marks. If you have a look at another question over here, the diagram below shows the structure of molecules found in organisms. Complete the table below by putting the correct letter A, B, C or D in the box next to each statement. Each letter may be used once, more than once, or not at all. So the first statement is that it's a monomer in an enzyme's active site. So just by looking at that, you know that this has to be a protein, and all proteins have the amino group and carboxyl group. In these options we can see the amino group there and the carboxyl group there, so we know that the first one must be B. It's a monomer in cellulose. We've just had a look at that. We know that it's beta glucose, so it's beta glucose. And remember, there's a difference between the structural formula of the beta glucose and alpha glucose. So if we look at cellulose, we know it's beta glucose, so we know that the OH group must be at the top. So OH group is at the top over here, so we know that the second one is going to be D. Now the third one is produced during photosynthesis and respiration. So what is produced in photosynthesis and respiration? So if we have a look there, we know that it's going to be C, because this one has an adenine, ribose and 3 phosphates, ATP. Okay, so we know that energy is released in respiration and energy is used in photosynthesis. So we know that this one is going to be C. And then the final one forms a polymer that gives a positive result with the Biuret test. So many people will straight away go A over here, but the question says each letter can be used more than once. That's where the trick comes in. So we know that because it's the Biuret test, we know that it's going to be protein, and we've just looked at a protein which was B. So we know that our answer here is going to be B. Here's the mark scheme: B, D, C, B, and that would be worth 4 marks in an exam. Okay, final question, nice and easy one to finish. What is a monomer? Well, a monomer is basically the small repeating unit which makes up larger polymers. Okay, so it's the small repeating unit which makes up larger polymers. Okay, and that would be worth 1 mark. So if I put the mark scheme up, so it's a small repeating unit which larger molecules are made from. Now it says reject atoms, elements, building blocks for units and molecules, and ignore any examples. So essentially what you need is this definition. And that is it for this video. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked it. And one last thing, please subscribe, hit the like button and the notification bell.